Yo, 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 what's good? What's good, YouTube? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Want to welcome you to another edition of the Friday Night Chop Session with Stormybman for this Friday, December 6th, 2019. And this is episode number 39. So we are moving right along in the year where the Friday Night Chop Session has become a regular show for me. Please smash the like button as you come in to the chat. I want to greet some people that have come out there in the chat so far. We got Tyrone Smith out there. What's good with you, Tyrone? He says, salute, Stormy. I'm up here after a long day on campus, putting the weights up, getting the money. I hear you, bro. I hear you. When the man is about his money, you know, that's a good thing. Crust the Legend is out there. He says, what up? And my co-host here, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, is also in the chat. He says, salute my peoples. And I just want to welcome everybody to the show. The subtitle of this episode is The End of an Era. And where that title comes into play is with the matches that we have coming up this weekend, particularly the main fight that's happening in Saudi between Andy Ruiz Jr. and Anthony Joshua, as they have a rematch for the unified championships that Mr. Ruiz violently took away from Joshua back in June. So that question in the subtitle is pertaining to how we may see things going forward. Is it an end of an era for Anthony Joshua, or is it an abrupt end for Andy Ruiz? So as we begin the show, we will get around to that subject in particular. But once again, just want to welcome everybody who's out there listening. And I hope it's been a wonderful week for you. We're coming to an end of a busy week. A lot of boxing news, a lot of things going on in the sport. And we're here just to talk a little bit about it. You know, there's plenty of information out there. There's plenty of stories out there. So it's a great deal to cover. It's not like we're going to cover everything, but some things that are a little closer to the vest that we have an interest in specifically. So with no further ado, I want to welcome Reggie in on the mic. How you doing, Reggie? What's going on, brother?
Man, doing good, OG, man. Chilling, ready to talk some of this good boxing with everybody.
Yeah, man, it's real exciting, you know, especially because again, just a couple weeks after the real heavyweight champion of the world did his business, we got another heavyweight championship fight, man. It's like the heavyweights bring the excitement, and the old saying has always been, as so go the heavyweights, goes the sport of boxing, because when there's good action, good representation at the championship level in the heavyweight division, the rest of boxing usually falls right in line. And one of the reasons for that is because the little guys don't like to be upstaged. You know, they have that little man complex where they don't want to admit to that, but they know the big boys can be raw with it. But sometimes they look to put their efforts out there so that they can steal some of that spotlight. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so one of the things that I had notated that we would talk about and getting kind of like right into it was this fascinating card that's going to take place on Showtime. You know, with the headline in the main event is Jamal Charlo and Dennis Hogan. But a nice undercard feature there is going to be Chris Eubank Jr. and Matvey Korobov. And that's a fight, Korobov and Eubank Jr. I got a feeling, Reggie, that this fight could possibly, and I hope I'm not overhyping it, but it could possibly end up in one of them top 10, maybe even top 5 candidates for fight of the year if things set off like I think they could possibly do. What do you think, and what do you have to say about this fight coming up?
Man, I think this is going to be the best fight on that card. A super good fight because the styles match up are perfect for an entertaining fight. And both of these dudes are gunning for the guy who's on the main card, and that's Jamal Charlo. Korobov wants his revenge because he felt like he was robbed in the decision. He wants some kind of get back, and he got a guy standing in front of him. He looking to run through him. And also, he probably want to get more at Eubanks because Eubanks is looking past him and already looking at Canelo, talking about Charlo. So it's almost like he's being disrespected. So he wanted to go in there and teach this young dude a lesson. So that fires up Korobov, and what fires up Eubanks is that Korobov is the person that's in his way as far as him getting to a Charlo or getting to a Canelo. And their styles just match up perfect. An orthodox fighter versus a southpaw. This gonna be some good stuff.
Yeah, I am anticipating this fight pretty much as well because these two guys, Korobov, if for those who may have forgotten, he recently he's coming off of a title challenge against Jamal Charlo, and where he represented himself fairly well. And at the middleweight division, which we've seen some things transpire there similar to what has happened amongst the heavyweights, because there are a number of quality guys at the division. Most of them already are holding some form of title or another, which is why it was such a displeasing thing to see Canelo just kind of graze through that division and passed it without facing any of those other champions who may have been at a higher premium than some of the fighters that he had fought prior to, the lesser fighter that he won a title from. And, Danny Jacobs, some people may feel offended considering him a lesser opponent, but you kind of have to categorize him as such because he could have faced some of those other people as well. But I think he auctioned his title off to Canelo because going into the fight, the reputation is Canelo's already up on the scorecards. And we didn't see Danny as a so-called champion sell out, like to the degree of trying to make something happen and trying to take over and say, hey, if this guy is going to take my title, he's going to have to actually take it and not be gifted it. And we didn't see that from him. And he's even more substantiated with my point by looking at the opponent that he's picked for his next outing. And I'm not even going to mention his name on this show tonight, but you see what I'm saying there. So here we have Jamal, who is chomping at the bit to make a name for himself at the division, and he's headlining this show tomorrow night. But fast on his heels is a gentleman who decided to drop down a few pounds for the division in Eubank Jr. And Eubank is taking on a guy that really, on the night that Jamal's brother lost that fight to Harrison, and Jamal, performed, it was kind of nip and tuck till he pulled it out in the later rounds, especially in the championship rounds when he had Korobov hurt a little bit and it was looking like he might even have a chance to stop him. Well, here now we get to see, even though Korobov's a little bit older and a couple of fights more into his career, he's still a quality fighter, a fighter that's right there at the championship contention level. But we'll get a chance to see what Eubank has to offer. Because so even though some people have considered him not necessarily their cup of tea, so to speak, he's still a quality fighter. He's a quality fighter. And all it takes is a victory, a stark victory over someone that will put him right in the mix. So depending on how the outcome of this fight goes between these two gentlemen, which, like I said, could be a fight of the year type candidate. You know, I'm really anxious to see how this is gonna play out. You know, I'm very anxious.
Yeah, I can't wait for the call on this. However it goes, I think it's going to be a split in the decision on this one. And I favor Eubanks if Eubanks does the right thing. But he's going to have to really clean up on that, throwing out too many of these wide shots, leaving himself exposed. Because he possibly can get caught with something that can mess him up for the, one punch can change everything in fights. And with him leaving his hands open against this guy who finds a way to land that left hook. Not sure how much power Korobov has, whether his power can affect this dude who's been fighting with 168 pounders. But I don't know if Eubanks has faced heavy hitters yet at the divisions he's fought in. So that could be another kind of telltale sign of things, him going to Korobov. But it's going to be an absolute. And I think it's going to go to a split decision on this one for me.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, isn't Korobov kind of coming down from a higher weight himself? He's fought at a heavier weight. I thought they mentioned that when he fought Jamal.
I forgot that.
Yeah. So I think they're kind of meeting in the middle, so to speak, because if I'm not mistaken, Korobov fought at light heavy a couple of times. Or at least he was campaigning and then he dropped down to take that fight against Jamal. Or it was either 168 that he was campaigning, took a fight at 175 and then dropped back down. It's one of those. I haven't looked at the records and stuff and checked the background, but I do recall them saying when he was in there against Jamal that he was coming down from a higher weight. I do recall that. One of the things I wanted to add too was this. Eubank, like his dad, is a little bit unorthodox with how he does things, and he might be a little open and everything with his shots and stuff like that. But I'll tell you something, his personality and the characteristics that he's put on display, how he represents himself, that kind of stuff is popular here in America. So it's like if he gets hit a little bit, but he can take it and he fights back, he can build a fan base over here because people like guys that give you action. And we have to be honest. There's not a lot of guys over here willing to give us the action that we so desire right now. That's one of the knocks on Demetrius Andrade. You know what I mean? Triple G. You know, these are good fighters, but they don't want to put their wares on display against someone who can compete with them. So here comes this young guy. I know he's done a lot of fights outside the U.S. and over in the U.K., but if he can even contend or compete with these guys, he could develop a following because he may be more enthusiastic to take on matches and bouts that the home-based guys aren't willing to do. What do you think about that?
No, I definitely agree with that. And the thing that separates him from everybody else is he ain't a dude he's not undefeated, and I don't think he ever cared. He went in there, fought the best, win, lose, or draw. And that's the thing with this guy. And he leaves it all in the ring. Even when I watched him in that fight against George Groves, and Groves is just, outsmarting this guy, putting a whooping to him. I think he cut him open and whatnot. This dude never stopped, man. He kept coming forward. He looked a little bit like a novice. He fought his fight, and he kept coming at Groves, made it an entertaining fight, and he showed a ton of heart up in there, especially in the division. And the other thing what shows the courage of Eubanks is he ain't even a 168-pounder, but that's where he went because the money was there, so he fought there. But now he's coming back here, adding more entertainment. And I'm surprised he never fought here because I know for a while he gym, so I'm surprised he never fought in America, but he will definitely be exciting, especially to make his debut in front of a New York crowd will be a huge test for him to see how appealing he'll be in America, because New York is a tough place, almost like being on Apollo fighting in front of them crowds. But that's all I got.
Yes, sir. I want to take a moment out to acknowledge the chat. We got Jean Lejeune is saying out there, he's saying salute. And Tyrone is saying that's a good card with Eubank and Korobov. And Hogan is no slouch either. And he says, yeah, I agree, Reggie. It could be a split. And you're saying to him, he says, yes, it's going to be a very competitive fight. Derek McGee is out there, says salute family. Scrapbook Boxing is out there, he says, what's good, Stormy B Man? And Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, passing through, showing support. What's good with you, Scrapbook? Thanks for stopping through, bro. And he says, good evening, chat. And Tyrone says, you guys are spot on about the fight and Eubank's chance at popularity. Yeah, Tyrone, I'll come back to that. I'll acknowledge Curtis Anderson has stopped in. He says that Stormy B Man, OG, and Scrapbook Boxing. What's going on with you, Kurt? How you doing, brother? Tyrone's comment. See, that's the other thing about boxing. A guy like Eubank, like I said, his personality and his character, and he is cut from the cloth of his dad. And we remember how outlandish his dad was with his gregarious, behavior and stuff, coming to the ring, prancing around and stuff like that. But he could fight. And Eubank Jr. is a chip off the old block, but being able to fight and also being an exciting fighter, meaning like he's not just in there walking through guys and beating them up and stuff like that. He's in nip and tuck fights, but he's showing heart and he's showing something that some of the guys domestically are not showing because they won't get in there with opposition who could bring either the best or the worst out of them. And how many shows do we do and how many, streams a week do we listen to where it's always spoken about that these guys don't want to fight each other in the sport of boxing today? So yes, this man can come over here, unlike the gentleman that challenged Kovalev for his title, Anthony Yard. Yard, he had personality and everything, and he had a certain kind of look that might appeal for people. But where he went wrong was he never stepped up to a different level to find out, what he has and stuff like that. He just jumped right into the fire with Kovalev, and he ended up getting knocked out, which you could say, well, he learned a big lesson and he took a great gamble. But now, hindsight being 2020, it was really a horrible move because he goes up there in his first step-up fight ever, challenges Kovalev, gets knocked out, and Kovalev gets knocked out in his very next fight. You see? And had he just had a little bit more experience, maybe when he found himself having Kovalev in trouble, with the proper experience, he would have been able to take Kovalev out himself. But now he's had a setback where he's got to go and reset himself, reset and reevaluate where he's going in the future. And let's just face it, a fighter who was confident and undefeated and everything like that is always tough to beat, but he was knocked out. He didn't just lose a decision. So now guys are like, maybe I can knock him out. You understand? So the whole thing is a little bit different now for him, the landscape. But when you take a guy like Eubank Jr., he don't care if he get knocked down. He don't care if he get cut. He don't care if the fight is swinging. He still think and has that type of confidence that he better than the other guy. And at least he's taking on those type of matches. And Korobov is the kind of guy who he understands that the clock is running out on him because he's a bit older. He has an extensive amateur career and things like that. So he wants to try to make his run at a championship too. And he realizes outside of Jamal, some of these other fighters don't want to fight him. You know, I haven't heard Andrade calling out for the guy. That was a good payday for him. Andrade is basically over there hiding behind the curtain wearing those Victorian shirts and his head wraps and stuff. He don't appear to want to be a fighter. He spent so much inactive time than the time he spent in the ring. It's a wonder that we even still speak his name, you know. But Eubank Jr. may come over here and start stealing some luster from the rest of these guys, the Triple G's, the Danny Jacobs and those guys. And we already know that Kid Chocolate is kind of like, he's on the way out, you know, after his last couple of performances. So the door could be, and the landscape could be opening up for Eubank at the right time. That's all I'm saying about him having that opportunity to come in here and start doing something. I mean, I know you said that was pretty much what your last comment was pretty much what you had on that. But what do you think about what I just presented there?
No, I agree. I'm total agreement on that. And I just like the fact that this win, lose, or draw. It's in his mind is to go out there and battle it out. Do all he can to be victorious. The judges do what they're going to do, but this guy comes in here to put his heart on the line, and he shows it every time. Now, he doesn't have the most intellectual style, a lot of things, but he looks in here. He likes to go to war. The dude has a high level of speed, fast hands, but he says hell with starting things off with a jab. His heart is what stands out for me, man. He definitely has a huge heart, a warrior's heart, and not playing prima donna style, trying to secure and worrying about fighting easy opposition, not trying to take losses and things like that. But this dude is challenging. Hopefully he stays successful, and I would like to see Canelo or even a Triple G.
Yeah. And one more time about the thing about guys having warrior spirit and heart. You know, we're not seeing a lot of that in the sport today. We're not. I mean, you could go division by division, and you may be able to pull one soldier out of each division who is really that guy, whether he's had a chance to display it or not, because other people don't want to make fights with him. But you can't say, oh, we got 2, 3, 4 of them, because that's not true. We don't. Not per division. Otherwise, these fights would be made, because some of them are still under the same promotional group and everything, and you're just not seeing those matches manifest. The guys who want it, they make the easiest fights. You know, that's just like Sean Porter. You know, when he had won that title against, who did he beat first? Was it Thurman or Garcia? Well, when he won that fight and Earl Spence got in the ring with him afterwards, and it's like, I want to fight you. And he was like, oh, that's not a hard fight to make. You know, there's no fear in my eyes. Remember, he was saying all of that. But then he took on Ugas next and not Earl. And people were like, oh, he ducking the smoke and this and that. But I think tactically it was done for a reason. But he did display by a true championship heart and spirit by getting on in there with Earl and putting it on the line. And much respect to both guys, because they both displayed that they deserved to be the champions that they were. in that match and how great a quality match it ended up being, because you had two of the best fighting one another. Only one man can be champion. Even though we got all these belts and titles out there, one man can be champion, and that could be easily sorted out when these men fight each other. In that match, it just so happened Earl, he bested him, okay? But Sean bested some other guys. Who knows? They keep fighting. Somebody might best Earl. Does that mean that that guy's the best? Not if he's lost to Sean. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the whole thing about styles make fights, and we deserve to see the matches to see who's best. I want to go back to the chat. We've had some more people come in. Smash that like button, people. For the Friday night chop session, we got, let's see, Kurt is out there. He's saying, saluting Scrapbook. Trap House Boxing is out there. He says, what's up, Stormy? What's good with you, Trap House? He says, what's up to the whole chat? Kurt Sugar, Scrap, everybody. Okay. Eric Jenkins is out there. He says, Stormy B-Man, Reggie Owens, salute. And Trap House is saying, that's what I like about Eubank Jr. He always wanted all the smoke. And you have to respect those guys. When someone like Eubank Jr., you might not like his personality or whatever, but you have to respect that he will get in there. And that's the beginning of building that positive fan base. Some guys that are over here need to take note of that. But they think that popularity comes from being on Twitter and stuff like that. No, social media is just what it is. Gaining your credentials is in the damn ring. You know, I don't care if you got 2 million Twitter followers. That don't make you the best fighter. And we just saw those two guys, Logan and KSI. I mean, they got all those, Facebook followers and stuff like that. But when you saw the two guys in the ring, it looked like two dudes fighting in the alley out back. They had no technique, no skills, and they were trained by people too, professionals. And they still put on that type of performance. I don't want to see that crap. I want to see the real fighters fight. They don't have half the followers that those two idiots had. But if they put it on display in the ring, yeah, then they would have more followers than those two idiots on the damn social media. This is where you make your name in the sport. So, Eric Jenkins is out there. He says, Stormy B-Man, well stated. The business of boxing is making boxing look soft. Yeah. D-Style is in the house. He says, on deck. And Reggie is saluting D-Styles. Trap House says, like what Sean Porter just did, that's how you boost your stock. Absolutely, Trap House. Absolutely, man. That's the way to go about it. Were you going to say something, Reggie?
No, I was going to say we got D-Style in the house.
All right. D-Style Boxing, welcome to the show, man. How you doing this evening? Thanks for accepting the invitation, man.
Absolutely, bro. I could join for a little bit here. I just got out of work and stuff.
Yeah, we were just in our opening cooking on the fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Matvey Korobov. Do you have anything you like to add on that potential matchup? I actually said I found that being one of the fights that could end up possibly in the top 10 matchups of the year, the potential behind that particular matchup.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good fight for sure. I got Eubanks winning that fight, but sometimes I feel anyway like Eubanks Jr. makes things a little harder than he has to. I think he has a little bit of a lack of patience, maybe because he likes to scrap. I don't know, but he brings it though. So can't complain too much. I got Eubanks in that fight.
Yeah. I think we are all in agreement here with how we favor Eubanks Jr. here, but the notion of how action-wise it could be a very entertaining fight for the fans. I think it's gonna be a boxing fans type fight. That's what I'm trying to say, because you got one guy who's aging and on the cusp. He's really gonna go out all out to try to put himself in position for another title shot, and you got another guy who's trying to, make his splash in the U.S. and he has a little something that some of the other guys don't have, and that's just the arrogance, the gumption to want to get in there and mix it up. We got too many of our guys that are just kind of like waiting around on the edge of the pool, but they scared to go off in the deep end. You know what I mean? So we're gonna have to get somebody out there who can shake that up, and maybe a fight like this can put people on notice. At least I hope. So with that said, we could move on to the main event on that card. Jamal Charlo versus Dennis Hogan. Dennis, who is the Irish, the Hurricane. I did a video on these guys in their fight that I did the video earlier in the week, and I realized that I hadn't released it, so I released it today, talking about the fight. Would you guys like to share your thoughts on how you see this fight shaking out? D-Style, since you just came in, I'll let you go first, bro.
Yeah, definitely, man. Look, I think the first time I saw Hogan fight was when he fought Munguia. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he did surprise me because, I did kind of assume, like, they're setting this guy up. And maybe that was the intention, to put him in there with a little bit of a, easier fight. But I like his movement, a little herky-jerky, maybe a little too herky-jerky for me. His hands are a little too low. He would get clipped by Munguia's right hand when I believe if he had a little more patience, and kept his hands up a little more, at least a quarter of those punches wouldn't have landed. But many still feel he won, though. You know what I mean? Circles to his right a little too much. He is open to right hands, though. That's what I noticed. And man, against Charlo, you're just asking to get knocked out. He does, although he does circle, when you do try to corner him, one thing I noticed in the Munguia fight was that he does back square. He squares up and goes backwards when he's towards the corner of the ring. That is a disaster thing to do. Munguia just couldn't take advantage of it. Munguia, and people keep saying Munguia's young. Oh, man, Munguia is who he is. Like I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but that dude's not going to get any better. Okay. I don't have an issue with Munguia. We need a Gotti of the era or something. He'll give us a lot of exciting fights, but he's not that dude. He put pause on Munguia, so he's been on that stage. But I just think that he's going to get timed and he's going to get knocked out, man. Earlier in the week, I was thinking around 8th, 9th round, but the more I saw film of this guy, I don't think he's going to go past 5 rounds, man.
Yeah, you may be right. What do you think, Reggie? What do you have to say, bro?
Man, I think it's going to be a statement fight. How Charlo goes out there and does away with Hogan may find himself trying to be competitive, but once Charlo begins to land on him, I think they'll and start to make him question whether or not he wants to be in that ring any longer, locked up against Charlo coming at him. And just with him not really showing me anything that he can throw out there to, garner the respect of Charlo, I don't see any type of real jab. The thing I see him doing, decoy to trying to throw off his left hook, trying to land something. He will be unable to jab with Charlo. A nice step back to again, and he gets busy when he's on the inside. He ain't the quickest inside type fighter, but he a heavy puncher on the inside. He doesn't mind banging from the inside, and but Charlo just jabbing all night. His jab has ill intentions. Hogan will feel that. It'll make him think. He'll have to react to that, and he may come in here and just, say the hell with it, and just trying to use a lot of pride. A lot of them Irish folks buy into that pride thing. They go in there and, hey, you got to knock them out type of deal. And I think that is Charles can go in here. He's going to catch him with something heavy, and he's going to get him up out of here. I don't think Hogan's, when I seen him training with 150, if he used the guy that J-Rock for his training camp, I think the dude's making a huge mistake not fighting someone at 160, prepare him for what Charles is out there. He's gonna find himself in the back. I think he's definitely getting stopped in this fight, and Charlo's gonna make sure of that because he wants to send a statement around the division, especially for lesser level opposition.
Yeah. The way I see it, fighters like the Hurricane there, Mr. Hogan, they build their reputation primarily on their toughness. Tough doesn't always equate to being good, but when you're good and tough, then it can put you in a place where you can be more competitive, even victorious in certain instances. I do not believe that Hogan is good. I do believe he's very tough. Similar in the sense to Jeff Horn. He's a tough man. He's going to give you all he has, whatever he has to bring. But I don't believe in this particular fight against Charlo that Hogan has enough. Plus, he's a smaller guy. And just being smaller against Charlo, who is a big middleweight, he is really big in there, and who throws solid shots. That little uppercut that he put in there on J-Rock, he knows how to throw with you. And that is so dangerous because the best time to hit a guy is when he's trying to hit you. And he seems to have mastered that. A number of his knockdowns and knockouts that he scored comes from exchanges. When he baits a guy in to throw shots and he throws his back in succession. And he usually throws in combination. That's where Hogan may run into some trouble. Because even if he's doing something, Jamal is smart enough to know that I got to wait for him to throw something. And then he's going to counter with what he wants to counter with. And he's smart enough to know that. I've seen enough of his fights where he's got a desired result off of people trying to come at him. Now, if Hogan wants to try to make Jamal hunt him down, it could be a terrible evening of being beaten on because Jamal is a bigger man, pounding on him, pounding to his body, pounding upside the head, on his arms, his gloves, stuff like that. That's going to wear him down. And he may try to get brave and macho by saying, oh, you ain't hurting me, you ain't hurting me. And then boom, that's where it'll happen, or you'll get cut real bad or something. And then it'll be down the tubes for him after that. That's how I could see a fight like that taking place. And it could either be a little bit of, excitement and action off of that, or it could be hellified boring until Jamal lands that shot. What do you guys think about that assessment that I presented? Either guy can go.
No, I agree with it.
faded out, Reggie, unless you just stopped talking.
No, I had stopped. I was saying I'm in total.
Okay. All right.
I mean, here's what I'll say, man. The way Hogan comes in, right? He's gonna get clipped, man. I mean, there's just no way around it. Like, if Munguia was landing back when you hit him, what do you think is gonna happen in this fight? I mean, you have to be able to hit Charlo and get away from him and then even counter him. I just don't see him doing that. He might do it for a round or two, but the reality is, if you watch Hogan fight, from round one, he'll start disciplined, and then he'll start the discipline starts to fade away, and then he tries to rely, as you said, on toughness, right? And that's not going to work in this fight.
Yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, that's pretty much it, and it's contingent upon whenever Jamal catches him. That's going to be it, because, like I said, he is very astute at throwing with guys, and that's in boxing we've got that technique that you say. You blind them with a jab and you follow up with something else. But the other way of blinding the guy from a shot is knowing the correct counter off of what he throws. If he throws a jab at you, a counter right over the top of the jab, a hook behind that jab, or a 2 to 3 punch combination off of whatever he's let fly at you, that's most fighters today. They're not as versed defensively on, how to punch and have your head offline and stuff like that. Those are the subtleties of defense that are major factors in helping guys, stay to be a live body in a fight. If your head is online or something like that, that's one of those things that when you get hit, you don't even know. It's like, how did I get knocked out or whatever? It's just like when Luis Ortiz got knocked out by Wilder a couple weeks back. Now, he didn't know what he got hit with because it happened so quickly and right off of something he was doing. He didn't even know. And then when they told him or whatever, he was extremely upset because he thought he was boxing well. But all it takes is one mistake, and it could turn things around. And Jamal is that kind of fighter. He's one of the few fighters today that does what I'm talking about, punching with a guy. Just want to go to the chat real quick. Eric Jenkins is out there. He says, salute peoples, chat. He says, Eubank is a good athlete, but Korobov's got skills. It's really a good fight. I favor Korobov. And he also says, I felt the knockout of Hogan 2 days ago. Double jab followed by a straight right. It's over. He might hit him with an uppercut, man. Charlo's got an evil, wicked uppercut and D-Style was talking about how he comes in and he drops his head, and if he tries to do that Canelo thing that tries to emulate Chavez, how he moves his head, bobbing and weaving, coming forward, or on the inside, he could catch it. And it could be all over, as simple as that, very quickly. And he wouldn't have even seen what happened. So that is a possibility. D-Style, I know you said you're going to be with us for just a moment. Did you have something, what we were using as our outline of tonight's show? We were opening up with that Eubank and Korobov and the Charlo and Hogan. Then we were going to go on the interview that Eubank Sr. gave on Fight Hype about AJ. Did you get a chance to see that at all? That interview that Eubank Sr.?
No, I haven't seen that interview, no.
Okay, yeah, it got released late yesterday evening, and I caught it this morning on my way to work. Shout out to Fight Hype for this interview and report. It's just like a 4-minute interview, 4.5-minute interview that they did with Chris Eubank Sr. when he was asking about, he was being asked about AJ's possibilities of gaining his titles back in this fight or whatever. And he alluded to hoping that AJ would be okay. And when the interviewer was pressing him about what he meant, you could tell he didn't want to say too much, but he was alluding to the fact that AJ is being put in this rapid turnaround rematch without having any time to go to school. And Eubank Jr. was trying to say in boxing, there are levels of class that you need to go through to get to a certain point to be able to contend and also come back. Like if you suffered a loss, you have to know how to take it back to the drawing board or whatever. And he doesn't feel that the 6 months time with no fights in between has AJ been properly taken care of to be able to perform at his best to take this title back. And he was very careful in his wording because, that's a countryman and stuff like that. But he was extremely honest and sincere about it. Reggie, did you get that chance to kind of catch any of that or no?
No, I did catch it.
You did?
And,
so what do you have to offer after seeing what you saw about that? Tell us what you think about that.
I don't think I'm not in any kind of fear for AJ's. The things that Eubanks is looking at, I don't think that's going to be a factor in this fight. I just don't see it. And I don't know if Eubanks, he had a tragedy in the fight as well. Wait, didn't his career end where a fight? OG?
You kind of fading in and out. I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
Oh, okay, yeah, that connection thing. I was saying, didn't Eubanks have in his?
I'm not sure if he had a tragic situation, but I do know that he has always, or let's just say in the later portion of his career, he's been a guy who followed the safety issues of boxing more. And with AJ's situation here, it wasn't so much about, don't mistake what he was saying about his safety like, Ruiz is going to hurt him. What he was saying is, in a manner of symbolically speaking, AJ is an incomplete fighter to begin with. And he was protected to begin with. Even in going into this fight with Andy Ruiz, he was not as seasoned as they would have liked him to be. But Andy Ruiz was definitely the type of fighter that he should have been fighting before he got to a title shot. And maybe a couple of steps before Andy Ruiz, someone like that. That's what Eubank was trying to say. And when he was saying, like, it's like college, you can't go from grade school to college. He's like, and you could go from high school to college, but as you go, there's certain aspects of the curriculum that if you're not versed in, you're going to have to take some supplementary courses in college to get caught up, to be brought up to speed. And basically that's what he was saying about AJ's professional career, because he's had a lot of things laid before him, and he's had a lot of circumstances be dictated in his favor, where if he could go out and just perform marginally, he could be victorious and continue on. However, there are some experienced fighters in the sport that they could expose what's not there. And those were the type of guys that they were keeping him away from. Primarily a guy like Deontay Wilder. But Deontay Wilder's not the only one. Luis Ortiz. There might be a couple of other American fighters that they don't come to mind right now immediately, but one I could think of is possibly even Bryant Jennings, because you remember the fight that he gave Klitschko. He could possibly perform that same kind of way and be victorious against a guy like AJ. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they hired him as a sparring partner for this camp, for this fight, that's tomorrow. But that's what Eubank was trying to stress. He was trying to stress the fact that, AJ is not a complete fighter, but he had those titles, and you have no choice but to get in there and mix it up now that you got the titles. You can't try to play prospect as a champion. That's why they rushed to the titles, and they got him. But he's not going to hold on to him. Even if he win him back tomorrow, it's not for the long haul. It's not. So somebody was going to say something. Go ahead.
No, I was stating that even with that point right there is, I still think AJ has some pretty good quality opposition, and he showed the heart, but we know where his heart lacks. But AJ has all the tools to be successful in this rematch here. I can't take anything away. I've grown to dislike AJ for this whole. I still have to give him the credit for he hasn't maximized as far as being educated in the sport, but he does have the tools, and he can easily tune up some of some of the crafting of he can change things up that for this fight that can be successful for him, and especially with him having these advantages in height, trimming down now that the advantages of weight as far as quickness, being able to endure much longer can play to his benefit. And it's just basically going off of simple boxing 101, just stepping back and just moving around. And hopefully it works against this 280-pound guy who knows what the conditioning is like for Andy Ruiz coming in at this significantly what we seen him do in his first fight. I can't say that agree with what Eubanks was saying. I don't agree with it at all, because I just don't agree with it. But yes, he's taken it very serious, accepted the fact that he's been deficient with what he's learned in the sport, and he did the right thing bringing all these people. And hopefully he has another coach who's going to take the reins of things, and someone who will cuss him out, man. Because staying on a D-Styles channel, that coach he has is too nice, way too nice. He needs a coach that's going to sit, and if he has to, he slaps the ish up out of AJ. But I think AJ will be safe in this.
Well, I 100% wholeheartedly disagree with that, and I respect what you're saying, but I could give an explanation of why I disagree, but I like D-Style to come in, and if he has something to chime in on this.
First, I mean, I heard part on my end, Reggie's cutting off a lot, so I couldn't get everything, but that could just be like my headset, I'm not sure. But I kind of caught what he's saying. I'm kind of in the middle, to be honest with you. So, look, the first person you got to go to in terms of fast track them, right? The first person you got to look to is AJ. Okay, he was the first one to say, "I'm still learning, and I'm heard the rules," which is okay, legal, right? By the law, I guess, law of the letter. But here's what I'll say. Is AJ a bad fighter? No. I honestly don't even question AJ. I know people say he's robotic and all that, and he kind of is. Like, I'm not going to act like he's like fluid is not the first word that comes to mind when I think of AJ. However, in his roboticness, which a lot of it has to do with a lot of the muscle mass he had and how big he is and stuff like that. But, okay, with that said, I mean, in terms of offensively, the dude's got a hell of a hook. The guy's got a hell of a straight. The dude has a great uppercut. Okay, I mean, the tools are there. Like, you know, the bishop's there, the rook is there, the king is there, the pawns are there, every piece of the board is there. I don't question the pieces on the board. I don't question his acumen in that sense. What I question in AJ are two things. One, I do question his situational intelligence. Like the fact that he kept going to jab the body of Ruiz over and over again, bending his knee at a 90-degree angle over and over again, getting caught, and then not understanding that the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, like he wouldn't mix it up. I question that, and I also question his heart, right? And I know that sounds harsh to people, but the reality is when we don't know what would have happened if he didn't clip Povetkin and knock him, right? We don't know what would have happened if Klitschko actually pressed on the gas when he had him down. And it's even in the following round where his 40s anymore. I need to, if he loses this fight, the car is totaled. I don't care if it only has 20,000 miles in it, right? If you total a vehicle and it only has 20,000 miles, it's totaled. And he is in that danger zone right now. And what I'll say, okay, as far as what Eubanks is saying, is something Lennox Lewis very similarly said after the fight. When people were when in the UK were saying, oh, Lennox is hating on his countrymen. All Lennox said was that maybe he's already learned everything he could learn from McCracken. And now it's time to move on to another trainer, someone who's more knowledgeable, and it's going to teach you something new. Work on your situational intelligence in that ring. Okay, like that's what needs to work on. So they're focusing on the physical. Oh, we're gonna lose all this muscle mass. We're gonna do some more shadow boxing and this, that, and the third, or more boxing workouts. Okay, I'm gonna put this shit in my mouth and lift weights with my jaw, and all that's nice. But what are you doing exactly to prepare for the onslaught that's coming? Okay, now I have a lot to say about Ruiz and the way he came in today. But to stay on topic as far as this goes, as far as AJ, he should have left McCracken. He should have gone with another trainer. He should have done that, and it should have been a different process, right? Emmanuel Stewart, when he took over Klitschko, he didn't say, all right, we're just going to go right back at Brewster after he knocked him out. No. Okay, it was a process. He says, we're gonna change you. But in order to change you mentally, we're going to have to make a process out of this. And that's what he did. And then a couple fights down the line, Klitschko knocked out Brewster in the rematch because he had already been molded, okay, into what, for the most part, what Emmanuel Stewart wanted. And you saw that the finished product of Stewart was superior than the previous one because the previous one got knocked out by that same fighter. And Josh was not giving himself that chance. He wanted to jump right in there, right, and go right back at, and it might work out for him. I don't know. But he missed out on an opportunity. Okay, they took my titles. You know what? Let me get with another trainer. Let me fight. Let me just get a confidence builder fight in the UK or something against some dude, like Fury's doing. Okay, fight somebody a little better after that. Then fight somebody in the top 10, and then look at the improvements. Go back to the drawing board, improve as a fighter. The Stewart Klitschko route. They should have done that. They didn't do that. It's very risky. I still feel the latter would have been better, but they are where they are now, and that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, that was excellent, man. You covered a number of places where I could have gone with that as well. So respect to your answer. I want to take a moment and acknowledge the chat real quick. We have Hyphy out there. Hyphy says, me no care if Charlo fight mans like Hogan, because obviously it's fine for Mexicans to pick easy fights too. I'll watch. Eric Jenkins says, true. Also, Eubanks Sr. sees that Joshua is not as tooled and disciplined as Ruiz, 100. Derek Bailey is out there, says salute at Stormybman and Trap House Boxing. Lowland Profits is out, says salute family. 89 TV has joined us. It says salute. And Reggie's pulling dual duty. He says exactly as D-Style. He lacks situational awareness and heart. Nitty G has joined us and says salute LDBC Chicago. Nitty G, what's going on with you? Chi-Town, stand up. And Eric Jenkins says D-Style facts. Joshua got tools, but the use of the tools is what we're not seeing. Scrapbook Boxing says D-Style Boxing. Great to see you, brother. And Lowland Prophet says AJ jaw training videos. He's laughing. Well, let's take it back a step where when D-Style presented the notion of Eubank and Lennox being critical, but not damning critical, but being critical because they could see the incompleteness that's there, which is what I was stating myself. AJ is an incomplete fighter. He has talent, which is why he was able to perform and defeat certain individuals that brought him up to the point where he ended up losing. However, a couple of those individuals, Carlos Takam, Vitaly Klitschko, and Povetkin, as D-Style mentioned, each one of those fighters presented something to him that he was not passing the test. But his talent, being able to throw that huge uppercut against Vladimir, bought him a victory. Clipping Povetkin and the refs helped him out against Takam. So it's like, and Joseph Parker. So when you look at that, again, if you're talking about him performing only on his merit, you could say if he don't knock a guy out, he could lose himself. And if he's supposed to be this stellar fighter, he should be able to do it without just simply knocking you out. And that's not being overly critical, because we know Deontay gets knockouts. I'm not trying to compare apples and oranges. What I'm trying to state is this. AJ doesn't have Deontay's type power to knock people out. And if there's a fighter who can offer some resistance and who can also perform in a competitive manner, he can test AJ in a manner of which whatever is barren, what's not in the cabinet, what's not in the toolbox, is what they like to say today. If it's not there, he can't reach in there and pull it out in the midst of a fight. He has to be trained and brought up to speed on certain things, and that's what's missing in his training. Lennox Lewis was saying that. And people nowadays often take constructive criticism and they want to turn it on its end and say, oh, you just don't like me. I remember when I was growing up in grade school and we would have report card day and your parents had to come up to the school, get the report card. You be there with your parent, and there's a section that used to be on the cards. I don't know if it's still on there today. It's like you work well alone as well as in a group, and comprehension, and you were graded on these things. And maybe 50% of the class would be receiving failing grades in that area, because a lot of those households brought their kids up to not be open up and receptive to the instructions of the instructor in the class. And so if the teacher tells you, do an assignment, get in this group over here, but you're being disruptive in the group, or you're disrupting someone else's group, then what's happening is you get a failing grade and you go and you tell your parents, my teacher don't like me. And your parent is defending you without actually looking into what's happening and why is this child detracted or not paying attention, or have, what do they call it, the ADHD or whatever, where you're not focused and you can't focus or whatever. When you see that, it's a way of fighting or combating what the problem is, instead of trying to get to the root of the problem and overcome and correct it. So, and AJ is the kind of guy, he'll hide behind that with his fans and everyone else. That, oh, they're hating on AJ, and he's back there enjoying that. But the thing about it is, what is he doing on his own to initiate a process of being able to overcome that or make some corrections? He's not doing anything. So therefore, as D-Style said, the definition of insanity, you're going to keep doing the same thing and you're going to get the same results. So in this fight against Ruiz, this rematch, Ruiz's people may be, and I'm getting a little ahead, but I can still say some for the conversation about the fight itself. But maybe they are assessing things based on his psyche and what they recognize and what's incomplete there. Sometimes when a person is incomplete in that manner, you could do certain things and put them in traps because they don't have the answers. They don't have the experience to get themselves out of that. And there are people who feel like he was gifted a gold medal in the Olympics. There's something about him where he's had the groundwork laid before him, but the one thing they didn't do is they didn't bring the best in to work with him. They brought some guys in to work with him, guys who are known over there. But they didn't even bring the best of the guys over there. You understand? And then they didn't even ask anybody from over here to help out or whatever. It's like his growth and maturation is always at a slower pace because they are not looking at him as a fighter. They're looking at him as a commodity. You see? And they're not, at the end of the day, one blow to the chin can end it all. And because he's been knocked out now, this is the thing you have to worry about. I understand what Reggie was saying a moment ago, that he don't think certain things will be a problem in this fight. But one punch on the chin, like Emmanuel Stewart said a long time ago, one left hook will change all of that. He'll relive that night and decide, oh, I can't beat this guy. I don't want to go through. When we're having that discussion on him and what Eubank was saying and what Lennox was saying, basically at the end of the So as we go into this next segment of talking about the card that's taking place over there, how do you guys feel about the undercard? It seems like we got some big boys on that undercard over there, and headlining, like in this poster I have posted up here, your boy Povetkin is in there, and he's taking on Hunt. What do you guys have to offer on the undercard? D-Style, you go ahead, bro.
Look, I like Hunter. I don't know how far he's going to go in his weight class. He's kind of small for this modern day weight class, but of heavyweights. But I think he's going to pull this one off. Like, something just tells me he's going to win this fight. He is younger than Povetkin. Povetkin did not look really good against Fury. If anything, I feel like Fury gave that fight away, but Fury is just like a poor man's version of his cousin Tyson, you know what I mean? But he also, I don't know, he never like goes for it, I don't know. But I think Povetkin, while he is still dangerous, that hook of his don't be shocked if he lands that hook clean on Hunter, he's going to knock his clock out. Okay. I'm pretty convinced of that. But the one fight that comes to mind to me, all right, for Povetkin, this was years ago, is when he fought Marco Huck, and he had a hard time. Many people feel he lost that fight. It was, and I remember watching, I felt it was close. I don't remember what had winning, but to be honest, but I do remember it was controversial. But Marco Huck, he was giving Povetkin problems, because Povetkin's used to having the bigger men use their height, right, to get him off. You know, that's how Klitschko beat him. He would just clinch him when he got, or leaned on him when he got close, and he just utilized his jab from distance. Joshua, since he doesn't fight that way, kind of stayed, in mid-range with Povetkin, but he never got on the inside. It's almost every big guy Povetkin fights, he's had some success, aside from Klitschko landing the hooks. He was landing hooks on Joshua and things like that. And to be honest with you, if the ref had just told Vladimir one time, hey, enough with the holding, that fight might have been different. I mean, it's no way to know, but I still feel like he was allowed to hold a little too much in that fight and also lean on him. But that aside, when in the Huck fight, like, he would get it on the inside on Povetkin, and I don't think Povetkin's not used to guys being on the inside of him. He's not used to fighting someone who also wants to fight him on the inside. Like, okay, I'm going to get on the inside on you because you're the big guy. Like, he's not used to that. And I think, if anything, Hunter's going to have success on the inside with the older Povetkin. I think he's going to outwork him, and I think he'll win a decision if they get it right in with the judges. But I think he wins a decision here, outworking Povetkin. He's probably going to throw a lot more punches than Povetkin, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's interesting that you pointed that out about him not being accustomed to people fighting him on the inside. If you notice, when you said about his fight against Fury that he wasn't looking very good in that fight, when he was early in the fight and fresh, Fury actually tried to fight him on the inside a little bit and was doing very well, remember? And he got tired and everything because that's not really his fight and everything. Right. But he had success because he took the fight inside. Even though he's taller or present a taller picture, he tried to fight smaller, and he was having success there. Before we go to Reggie, I want to go right back to the chat real quick and acknowledge some more brothers that have joined us. We got Ack Reacher 45. He says, "Sup, Stormybman." Derek Bailey is out there saluting Ack Reacher, and back and forth. And then also Scrapbook Boxing is out there saluting. And Jean Lejeune says, Povetkin looks like a post-USADA TRT Victor Belfort. And Boxing Talk 101 says, how's it going? And good heavyweight action reminds me of the HBO Night of the Heavyweights back in the day. Yeah, kind of similar to that. I guess that's what they're trying to repeat.
Can I say something quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like the Victor Belfort thing, it's let me tell you, that's dead on. Because in UFC, there was a time where Victor Belfort, people were saying he was old, washed up, and then he just had a revival. Like, all of a sudden he was knocking out young dudes, and it was crazy. But it was all in Brazil. Like, he only looked like that when he fought in Brazil. And then when he would fight outside of Brazil, not so much. All of a sudden, the dude didn't look like $1 million like that. He was still good. I mean, he was a veteran MMA fighter, but he didn't look as good. Povetkin, bro, I think back at the Eddie Chambers fight, and I remember that fight because Povetkin was hitting Eddie Chambers with everything, and Eddie Chambers wasn't going anywhere. And if you remember, Eddie Chambers had pillows on his hand. That dude couldn't crack an egg. He was the Paulie Malignaggi of heavyweights, right? and dude, Povetkin was huffing and puffing. I mean, he was grasping for air after like 4 rounds.
Yep.
And I remember watching that fight live thinking, how is this dude going to finish this fight? Now, granted, he finished the fight, but the only reason he did is because Eddie Chambers couldn't crack an egg to save his life. Okay, if Eddie Chambers had a little bit of power, he would have knocked this dude out. But, dude, but then there was Povetkin smash. Like, Povetkin was like a whole nother animal, right? And this dude was leaping hooks, knocking dudes out, nonstop energy for 12 rounds. It's like night and day. Okay, all of a sudden, when he was fighting in Russia, right? Over there, dude looked unstoppable. I think one of the reasons he couldn't find that energy in the Klitschko fight was because Klitschko said, nah, I ain't going to fight you with RUSADA, which is the Russian version of USADA, doing the testing. We're going to have the German agency do testing for this fight. You know, and people kind of forget that. People forget that Klitschko demanded testing for that fight. Right? He was not going to fight Povetkin otherwise. He obviously knew some. Right? Now, you know, the suspicion that Vladimir was on some too. Right? But still, the point is not mute. I don't know. Like Hunter might be fighting Povetkin, bro. This is Saudi Arabia. Okay? So, like, if he comes out there, dominates, and knocks Hunter out, I'm just telling you guys right now. I'm not saying that Povetkin winning is out of the question. But if he comes out like nonstop energy and the punches of Hunter having zero effect, and then, you know, he's bouncing Hunter across the ring and then knocks the dude out, like, I'm just telling you right now, Povetkin smash is back. That's all I'll say about that.
Okay. Boxing Talk 101 says, it's good to see the big boys go at it. Ricky Alphonse says, salute. And Boxing Talk 101 says, Hunter is pretty good. Joseph Brown has joined us. He said, Hergovic is who I want to see. Lowland Prophet says, juiced up, looking great. Boxing Talk 101 says, Chambers versus Povetkin was part of the HBO tournament for Vlad. And Hyphy says, D-Style Belfort example wasn't the best choice because he's a confirmed steroid cheat, so he has a reason to resurge after his prime years. Bodru Thibodeau is out there. He's saluting. And Lowland Prophets is saying, Osterine engine. Okay. Come on, Reggie. We didn't hear from you for a minute. What did you have to offer on this, either what D-Style was just cooking on with Povetkin or the undercard with these heavyweights in general?
Man, D-Styles, thought on it was detailed as hell, man. You laid out thick. That was hell.
I agree.
Yeah, on segments that you hella detail, and you also bring up a great point with in the beginning where you're speaking about how Povetkin doesn't like to be challenged on now, and that opens opportunities for Michael. But then in the second part, when you bring Saudi and the way this guy looks when he's fighting, we can allege the same thing can made over here. Hunter may be in there against Povetkin, and that could be one of the things this dude has to worry about. So, and he's one of the smaller heavyweights, like I pointed out. He has to go in here and fight an intelligent fight. And in this one, I think he's going to have to use his youth. So he has fresh wheels. He got a full tank. He's going to have to use it. And he's going to have to box this dude, work him around, make Povetkin come out to the deep waters, make him swim, and see what you can do. Watch out for some of the power. Diminish a little bit of this power. Keep it safe. Stay off the range because, we don't know what the heck none of them fighters. And that's just the way he's going to have to treat it, as if he's in there with a guy who isn't playing on the level, and just use the attributes where he has the advantage. And speed, youth comes into play, and I think he has greater agility when it comes to Povetkin, and I think that can help cruise along. And I don't think he has the power to knock Povetkin out, trying to exchange early on by taxing Povetkin a little bit, taking him a little bit deeper, but making him work, not just staying away from him and tiring him, but circling around, sticking and moving on, overexert itself while not being really able to hit you with anything. But I'm favoring Hunter in this fight just based on youth. But Povetkin in Saudi Arabia, man, that has me thinking. And I'll pass it over.
Yeah. I know that there's been some positive talk about Hunter. I haven't seen a lot of them, so I have to do some catching up research on him. But it's always good to see some of the normal size heavyweights back in there and not just be these giants all the time. But I'll tell you something, as soon as we get another 6 foot, 6'2" skilled heavyweight in there, they'll be champion, because those kind of guys right within that range, I'll say 6'3" tops, is kind of the dimensions that a lot of the best of the guys have been. But that's just my own personal bias talking there. But yeah, I look forward. I just like to see the big guys. You know, the little guys are exciting, but the big guys can sometimes just deliver. It's like you see weird stuff when it's big guys. Like I remember the fight between Maurice Harris and Derek Jefferson. You know, for any of you to go back to the HBO days of Boxing After Dark and stuff like that, when they had guys like that matched up and facing off against each other, man, and guys stumbling around once they get tired because they blew their wad, so to speak. So it's like now it's based on who can dig deep and everything. Those fights were always exciting. And hopefully we could get something like that, out of this undercard. I would love to see them compete and someone to emerge from this. And I hope it ain't Povetkin, because he should be on his way out. That's a guy that, I mean, it seemed like he'd been around for 20 years or something. You know, it's like I'm just tired of him. Want him to be, moved to the side and let someone else shine. It's time to see that. But yeah, I get a little excited when the heavyweights are about to do some stuff, because one punch from those guys usually can end it. Or if a guy isn't in the best of shape, he can't finish. So I look forward to that. But we can bring it down to the main event now, because that's pretty much the main and only reason that some people will be tuning in, to see the fight between Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz Jr. Joshua trying to recapture the titles that he lost to Ruiz in June. As this fight, I hate the fact that the fight is in Saudi, but can't do anything about it. It's going to take place there, whatever. But I would have loved for the fight to take place in America. It didn't have to be at the Garden or anything like that. It could have been at the Texas Stadium or something. Just someplace in America where big fights have been held before in the past for history's sake or whatever. I do believe that there will be some weird stuff that takes place in this promotion over there. That's one of the reasons that they took it over there, so they could get away with doing some things. But I guess D-Style, can you share with us what you think about the fight, the promotion taking place in Saudi, and if it's just a ill feeling that something could be in the cards because it is taking place in that region. What do you think?
Well, let's kind of dive into this. So, Look, first of all, the actual fight itself. Let's go a little backwards here. Let's start with the weigh-in. I was highly disappointed with what I saw on the weigh-in. Highly disappointed. Beyond belief. And I can't even believe what I'm hearing. I'm hearing people say, it doesn't matter. What do you mean it doesn't matter? I'm not saying you have to change your pick, but to say it doesn't matter. You know, like discipline matters. Training, the training you do for a fight matters. Like, we can't say it doesn't matter. Maybe you don't think it's going to change the outcome, but it matters. Like, the reality is, this dude came in 15 pounds over what he came in his last fight. And his last fight was a short notice fight. You've been knowing you're going to fight this guy again. You've known since the moment the dude bent the knee, all right, and quit. Since that moment you knew this day was coming. That very moment you knew I signed a rematch clause, you know, the fight's going to happen. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm going to negotiate for more money, which he did. Good for him. Okay? If Andy Ruiz would have listened to those idiots in the UK, right, he would have gotten less money. Right? So I'm glad he got more money. I'm glad he negotiated that and all that. I'm glad. I'm not so happy they agree with the fight being in Saudi, but I just feel like this guy partied a little too much. All right? And I think he's being given a pass because people are saying, like, he's getting the one pass no other heavyweight really gets. Oh, but that's Andy. Andy likes Snickers. Andy likes food. It's okay. No, it's not okay. It's not. The last time, okay, you need to understand that he was already, first of all, he weighed less in the fight before the AJ fight. It was a short notice fight. But you're telling me you couldn't at least stay the same? You're telling me you couldn't lose 5 pounds? I'm not telling you to train yourself, but you couldn't lose anything? And you could tell me all day, oh no, he was taking it serious. Dude was still doing, like, people were just laughing it off, but I saw videos still, like, tasting different types of tacos and telling people which one tastes better. And, oh, look, they're having me try different types of pizzas. Ah, ha, ha, it's so funny. It ain't going to be funny if you lose this fight. I'm going to tell you right now. It ain't going to be funny if in the middle of that fight you get a little more resistance than you expected. Because while you're expecting this dude to quit, what if he doesn't quit as fast as you think he's going to quit? What if he just decides, it's like freaking, of all people, Victor Ortiz decided in that Barrett fight, you know what? I'm actually going to get up for this one. Dude got knocked down. We're used to seeing him quit. But in that fight, he just decided, you know what, Berto, for this fight, I'm going to bring my heart with me. What if that happens? You got to be prepared for everything. You got to take this sport serious. I'm not asking this guy, okay, to get all bulked up and come out with a six-pack, right? I'm just asking him to be as close as possible to an optimum weight, right? If I see this guy, let me tell you, he better know what the fuck he's doing. If I see him huffing and puffing after 2 rounds, because boxing is hard and it takes a lot of stamina to do it, all right? If you're huffing and puffing after 2 rounds, I'm going to say, you know what I'm going to say? It's going to sound harsh as shit. It's what you get. It's what you get for not taking this shit serious that you should have. And I did a video a couple weeks ago and I said, okay, look, man. Time to start training. His trainer was out there, man. I'm trying to get this dude isolated. I'm trying to get him away from the people. He already celebrated, but he still wants to go to Jimmy Kimmel. He still wants to go to this interview and that interview. He wants to do that show with Mike Tyson. He wants to do this other show and that show. Okay, I got to go to this radio station, that radio station. All right, and I got to keep doing this. I got to taste this food because I'm fat, and everybody thinks it's funny when I taste food. Okay, are you fucking kidding me? Because I can tell you right now, you better hope you take AJ out. If you don't take AJ out in 5 rounds, I honestly don't know if this dude can make it all the way. Okay, I just got to be honest. It's possible. And look, the hand speed's still going to be there. Okay, the skills are still there. It's still going to be a tough fight for AJ. I just don't believe that Andy Ruiz maximized his potential of winning this fight. And right now, after what I saw in the weigh-in, okay, I'm actually suspecting that AJ might win this fight. All right? I mean, just for what I'm seeing. And I don't want to hear, it's the sombrero. He had a sombrero and a shirt on. Okay, and he had stuff in his pocket. Do you expect me to believe you have 15 pounds worth of shit around him? No, bro. Okay? Like, this dude didn't look good to me. And it's disappointing. So that's that. The actual fight itself, he could take AJ out early, right? And the weight's not an issue. But to do that, it's going to have to be baptism by fire the way it was the first time. Overwhelm AJ and take him to that place that AJ doesn't like to be in. Like the place Maidana took Victor Ortiz to. Okay? You take him to that deep, dark place that makes him feel very uncomfortable, and he starts saying to himself, make this stop, because that's the aura that he gives out when he's in trouble, or at least he gave out in that fight. You got to put him in that place. You're going to have to do it sooner this time than you did the last time, right? And as far as the fight being in Saudi Arabia, ahead of time, like you agreed to the fight in Saudi Arabia, you better assume the ref's against you. But you still don't want to maximize the things you do have control over. You don't want to do anything about that, right? Like I understand this dude never seen.
You got, bro.
I say ding, ding, ding to because be away from Andy. And I stated once he became champion, you seen everything about him change, and that's one of the things that can ruin people is fame. If a person can't deal with fame and newfound wealth, it will destroy them. And this is along with why I'm on top of, I think AJ has the necessary tools that he can use to win, but this is one of the reasons why I'm going for AJ. Andy Ruiz has lost his way with what he has achieved. And when you look at it, and the one thing I always with the social media thing, and when you get on Andy Ruiz's, the whole shift has come to where he's almost being kind of a carbon copy of Floyd Mayweather from what you see posted on there. Everything is about what he's achieved, all these new folks around him. And just like D-Style stated, he was trying to isolate him at the top of this, trying to get this. He had to take him to Mexico because everybody who cared nothing about this dude, the Jimmy Kimmels in them, wanting to interview him. And Robles like, he got to get this guy up out of here because accepting everybody, because all throughout his life, you can see it's apparent he's been ignored by people, been an unaccepted child based on, and he's dealing with, esteem issues. And now that he's being accepted or kind of artificially accepted because all these plastic, and he's buying right into it, and he's missing time that he should have dedicating in the gym, controlling his weight. And contrary to a lot of, I wouldn't say it's popular belief, it's kind of a belief that heavyweights don't have to worry about weight. That is far from the damn. It's really these heavyweights, and they have to find an optimal weight, do what they have to do, especially if they're going for the long haul. Being active at that weight, it takes energy that these dudes are exerting. They're at the proper weight and that they're properly trained, because we've seen so many of these guys with so much potential fall to the wayside, not due to their talents, but due to weight. Weight can be a detriment going into this thing. And for this dude to be 283 pounds are creating these stories of, oh, it's the sombrero. Oh, he came in with sweats. That stuff don't weight that guy. And it's what it is that people. And it's funny. I was listening to Haplotype on the show he was doing. He was coming up with guesses for the weight, and he was right on point with where he thought AJ had come at come in at, and he thought his prediction was that Ruiz would come at 263. Ruiz is 20 pounds heavier than that. Ruiz threw everyone off. Even when I seen that printed from Boxing Scene, I thought it was a misprint. I had to go watch the weigh-in myself, and when I heard 283, I said, "What did this dude do?" And in the few weeks that this dude arrived to Saudi Arabia, all he posts is food. You see all this cake and shit around when it's a lot of desserts. They fed this dude, and he brought into it. He stuffed himself, and now he's coming in like the stuffed turkey that missed weight on Thanksgiving Eve. And man, if we see this dude huffing and puffing, and then you got to think he's fighting in the elements. He's not breathing that kind of air. That's going to tax him out there. This is an outdoor damn fight. It ain't like control or a controlled environment or an arena that can kind of simulate an elevation and make it easy. Desert, a dry desert at this cool damn night. So those are many things to look at, and woo, I think he screwed up, and that's why and that's my closing.
All right, good stuff, fellas. I'll tell you my end of it now. I've already alluded to the fact that they took this fight over to that region so that they could create an environment that would be palatable for AJ to be successful through what his promoter and management and everything could do within their powers and economic means to help him through this. Andy Ruiz Jr. has helped a great deal as well, because not only did he emulate a historical aspect for winning the heavyweight championship of the world in defeating AJ, just as Buster Douglas defeated Mike Tyson in Tokyo, Japan. He's emulating what Buster Douglas did in his first title defense against the #1 contender, who was Evander the Real Deal Holyfield at the time. Buster, who spent several months after beating Mike Tyson in courtrooms with Don King over trying to take the titles away from Buster because he felt like Buster was knocked out first during the fight when the referee gave a long count when he went down in the 8th round from a Mike Tyson uppercut. Believe it or not, they were campaigning. Don King's camp was really campaigning as hard as they could to have the decision of the fight, the final outcome of the fight, overturned. When we witnessed history right in front of our eyes, in front of TV sets, on cable, whatever, however you watched it. So he spent a great deal of those months after the fight, because it was February of 1990, was it 1990, 1991, whatever, and when he fought Holyfield, it was in October at the Mirage Hotel, where Steve Wynn opened that hotel up and offered Buster an amazing, staggering, I think it was $23 million guarantee for that, to defend the title against Holyfield. Now, when Buster was training, and then he moved his camp to the Mirage where they set up, facilities for him to work out and everything, Buster Douglas was ordering room service in the sauna. Reporters covering the fight, they saw this man eating and just eating and eating, and then when the sauna incident was the worst, and he was ordering room service, and the bill was like really high. It's like for those type of hotels in Vegas, certain things, don't cost if unless you order it a certain kind of way, and then if you're drinking, the drinks are free or whatever. Well, Buster, he ran up a tab, and when he stepped on those scales, he wasn't at a weight he had never been at before because he had fought, at higher weights. But the 246 pounds that he weighed in to face Holyfield were basically 16 pounds heavier. Sounds familiar? Than when he fought Tyson back in Tokyo in February. So not only is Andy emulating Buster Douglas' accomplishment as far as winning, but he may be setting up the recipe for losing. And that is kind of troubling because if he really wanted to enjoy the lifestyle that he's come to love, he has to know how to hold on to it. And maybe, he's been pulled too far in one direction. That all being said, what I feel is one of the second most important factors going into this fight would be character. I've always believed that Anthony Joshua has a shaky foundation when it comes to character. He's a fragile individual. He's uncertain of himself. They've already let you know that he sees a sports psychologist or whatever, psychiatrist. In boxing, the sport is anywhere between 75 to 90% mental, according to who you may ask, whether it's trainers, fighters, people who are experienced in the sport from the aspect of what works in camps. And with the rumors that they've put out about him struggling with sparring partners once again, then knocking all of them out and this and that, when you're good, when you do what you do, you don't need the rumors. When there's trouble, there has to be information that's put out to counter the trouble. I think that Andy Ruiz Jr. has a stronger constitution as far as being a fighter than what AJ may ever reach in his career, because sometimes when you don't have it, you ain't gonna get it. You understand? So that could be the only thing that levels the playing field for him. And I see personally, I see D-Style stepping out. He says he got to run. Appreciate you, D-Style. Thanks for stopping by, brother. When these two men face off, character could come into play. As soon as Andy Ruiz Jr. gets over himself for coming in at a balloon weight, he could still get down to business, and let them hands go because he can fight. AJ, when it gets tough in there, doesn't have the same thing to fall back on. The embarrassment of the first loss of his career and everything, and the excuses that he looked to give for losing the fight and what the real actual reasons may be, all of that is a part of what he brings. And on any given night, because he's a big man and he can punch a bit, yeah, you could nail a guy. He put Ruiz down in the first fight. But will he be able to keep him down? The thing about that is he would really have to hurt Ruiz to keep him down. And what I noticed about their first fight was whenever AJ hit him with something solid, he fired back right away with multiple punch combinations. It was almost like he was saying, making a stand, saying, I'm not going to let you hit me with that. Here, take this. And that's a fighter. So even though we've given out our picks for what we thought going into this fight prior to today's weigh-in, the one thing that I could say is this fight is a lot closer now because of Andy's decision to not get in at least the same shape that he was in for the first fight, but he still knows how to fight. And that makes it's a toss-up, basically. But if he starts laying hands on AJ and making him remember why he lost the first time, I do believe that AJ can crack under pressure. He was thinking about Deontay Wilder. He said it. He admitted to it while he was fighting the guy in the first fight, you know. It's like, dude, you're supposed to be focused on the person in front of you. When they had the face-off, he couldn't even look Andy Ruiz Jr. in the face very much, you know. He was looking askance and looking at over at the host of the show. So there are things happening around this fight that really bring an aura of mystery. And at the end of the day, character is what comes to the top. If Andy Ruiz goes out there and he takes a shot and he goes down and decides not to get up, he will have completed the Buster Douglas comparison to a T. I hope we don't see that. I hope he goes in to give the best effort he can at the weight above his shortcomings and his character flaws to give a great run at trying to regain his title. If both men have the idea that this would be brought out of him, that is something to be seen, and this is a historical moment that we may get that revelation from one of these gentlemen or both. That's what I have to say about that. And it just really puts things up in the air going forward. What you got, Reggie?
Man, wait, hold on. Yeah, everything just remains with what I predicted, and it's really based on. And it's funny how things sway from what I see. Like in the first fight, I picked Andy Ruiz, and I and that played a part into it. And I also looked at the whole mental. What caused me to side with Andy Ruiz. Now, going into this thing, things have reversed, and it's mainly due to what Andy Ruiz has been doing now that he's found this newfound fame. So it's funny how these things have just shifted back and forth, and I'm kind of along when it comes to me as the victor in this fight. And I wish he was, putting the bet in. That's how sure I am that he'll win this fight. But with that, I just can't wait to see what happens, man. Nothing changes with this. And it'll be unfortunate, man. Both of these fighters. I was doing that video earlier about how a loss will be, and for Andy Ruiz to come back into this thing at achieving such greatness, putting him in a position of getting this division closer to what the whole fight world wants it. Undisputed challenge at the head. And if this dude goes in here to screw it up, it's going to turn a lot of people against him based on him not being disciplined. And it also almost writes him off as he falls back to the wayside, kinds of call himself up. But he does have the skills to possibly challenge and work his way. It'll be a bad fall for him if he is. And the same thing for AJ. If AJ is not victorious tomorrow, his career has hit the end of the road, man. He might as well just jump right in the dirt and bury himself, because his career, and it will redefine what his career has been. All of what they have achieved and marketed and promoted him at, it will all go into the dump. It'll be trash. So he has a lot Andy has a lot that he's fighting for. Epic fight tomorrow, and I cannot wait.
Absolutely, man. This is one of those things. This is why you got to have the fight. This is why you got to get in there and mix it up, because we could talk about hypotheticals and what we think this and that all day long, but until these two men get back in there and give us the rematch, we won't know until we see the finale of what's happening here. So very interesting. If it goes a certain kind of way, would you believe it could end up possibly being a trilogy? So it's like, I hope not, but hey, weirder things have happened. It is boxing. So hey, it's been a
Right.
great, huh?
No, I was saying right to that about that.
Yeah. So it's been a great show, man. I want to say thanks to D Style, who came on and helped us and gave us some really good boxing talk this night. D Style was prepared to drop some things that he wanted to talk about, and I could tell. That's why I just let him go ahead and speak his piece. Much respect to him. And if you guys haven't subscribed to D Style Boxing, please take a moment out to go over there and check his channel out and subscribe to him, because the brother is really cooking. Reggie Owens has collaborated with him along with myself, and we always have very good boxing talk on that channel there. Reggie, why don't you go ahead and give your final thoughts and words and let everybody know where they could find you on YouTube.
Yes, indeed, man. OG. Great conversation. My brother D Style, man, thank you guys find me on, man, not just my channel. You can find me on D Style's channel, my channel at Boxing Conversations. And man, I just have a love and passion for dang sport, man. I'm loving what I'm seeing. Like we was talking about how much boxing they're delivering to us, to where it's almost a fight every week and multiple promotions putting on a fight. I cannot be happier with this sport based on what they're putting out. We may not get all that we want to see to be entertained with this sport. I'm loving it. Don't F with the NFL. So if I didn't watch boxing, I ain't really rocking too much with it. Don't follow high school sports because I'm not back in LA anymore. So boxing is always what it's been, man, since I've been a child, and now I follow it with more of an intelligent eye on it, and an intelligent feed from you guys when you're reporting and speaking on this. This is the dopest era that has been generated when it comes to this sport. I wish I was on this YouTube thing a long time ago, man, but I'm enjoying it. Great conversations. Conversations rules the nations. So I'm loving it. Thank you, Stormy B.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I want to thank everybody that came to rock with us, whether it was the people who were just listening in or people who participated in the chat and those who smashed the like button. If you didn't get a chance and you're still out there in the chat, please hit that like button for us. It's nice that we got over 23 this evening. I always like when we could get the likes up over 20. So thank you all for that. And I'm sorry that I didn't get to all of the messages in the chat because we really had D-Style cooking and Reggie was cooking. The one thing I want to say is that when we come together on this channel to do this show, we just try to give you quality content. You know, we try over the airways with you all that are listening and participating in the chat and bouncing back with a nice report off of one another. I want to take a moment to acknowledge a PayPal donation that I received yesterday for Christopher Journay that sent a PayPal donation. Just want to say thank you for that. Appreciate your support. But you know, you can find me here, right here on the Stormybman channel. I do the Friday night chop session every Friday night. I will do a post fight on after the fight is over. Then I have the In the Eye of the Storm show that I do a couple of times a month. And that's where I interview the other channels. with the LDBC and the boxing community, and we try to keep everything featured as far as promoting what's happening with content creators and channel operators. And then every so often during the week, I might drop, videos on the subjects that are coming up in the sport, fights that are coming up. And I also have a show called Dine and Dish, where we talk about food on there. That's the show I did last night. And that's just a community show where we just get together and just talk it up, laugh, have a good time, and it's centered around food. Foods you like, foods you prepare, places you like to try, places you've tried, things like that. So Stormybman is always trying to do something to keep the community connected. So I'll be on those airwaves. Just look out for me. And so that's it for this evening, the Friday night chop session. And for my brother D-Style, who had to check out a little bit early from us, we want to say thanks again for stopping by, brother. For Reggie Owens, you've been a great partner on this show. I really appreciate your contributions. And we're going to say goodnight, everybody, and enjoy the fights tomorrow. Appreciate you.
Peace.